time when democracy and the rule of law are under assault from disinformation, division, and shrinking civic space. The UN Democracy Fund will host an event on the International Day of Democracy on Monday, 15th September at UN headquarters to highlight how democratic participation can be transformed from voice to action. In a time of shrinking civic space and rising disinformation, building trust, dialogue, and shared decision-making is more urgent than ever. Rooted in the principle of "we the peoples," this event aims to show democracy as a living force for agency, hope, and cooperation. The United Nations presented a video that talks about one of the SDGs that focuses on democracy as it aims to promote peaceful and inclusive societies. UNESCO has also previously presented a video that talks about how AI technologies affect democracy. These are topics that relate to all of us. Let's take a look at these videos.
Imagine all the people living for today. Imagine there's no countries.
1 year ago, member states of the United Nations adopted the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. Called the Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs, it promises a better future for all in 15 years. One of the 17 goals focuses on democracy. It aims to promote peaceful and inclusive societies for sustainable development, provide access to justice for all, and build effective, accountable and inclusive institutions at all levels, critical in delivering sustainable development in all countries. Democratic principles also run through the entire agenda like a golden thread, from universal access to public goods, healthcare and education, as well as safe places to live and decent work opportunities for all.
Perhaps someday you'll join us, and the world will be as one.
How do AI technologies affect democracy? After all, it is still humans who vote in democratic elections, make political decisions, and rule in the courtrooms. This being said, there are several areas where technology's impact is already present. For example, automated decision-making, where artificial intelligence tools help judges with scarce resources to draft court decisions or assist authorities in developing new policies. AI has a vast potential to transform our societies for the better, but only with the premise that data used to train AI is reliable, objective and bias-free. Widely used for circulating news and information, AI can sometimes be intentionally used to spread misinformation, undermining and harming democracy. With many such AI applications being owned and designed by private companies, their transparency and accountability are ever more urgent. That's why we need a global ethical framework for AI, such as the one UNESCO is developing, that will empower the people to oversee the development and democratically regulate and decide on the use of AI tech and ensure the persistence of the rule of law online.
Artificial intelligence has now become a great part of our lives, making certain workflows much more efficient. However powerful as it is to transform our lives, it is also crucial that we incorporate AI into our lives with kindness in mind, so as to use AI to positively transform our world and our future. In celebration of today's events, Dr. Hong Tao-tse, President of Federation of World Peace and Love, has prepared a speech, Building a Path to Sustainable Peace, Reflections on the Global Situation. Let's welcome Dr. Hong's message.
Distinguished guests, dear friends, ladies and gentlemen, good day. In 2007, the United Nations General Assembly adopted a resolution designating the 15th of September of each year as the International Day of Democracy. The observance seeks to promote the practice of democratic values, enhance global awareness of the importance of democracy, and encourage governments, civil society organizations, and citizens to work together to strengthen democratic institutions and safeguard the fundamental human rights of all people. On this same day, FOWPAL also observes the International Day of Love and Peace, which calls upon people to face challenges with love, foster mutual understanding, resolve conflicts, and live together in harmony. In the present era of volatility and uncertainty, the significance of these two commemorative days is more important than ever. The rise of extremism, the spread of disinformation, and the proliferation of various forms of social media are threatening the very foundations and progress of democracy. While the explosion of information has made it easier for voices to be heard, it has also obscured the truth. The integrity and transparency of many governments are under increasing scrutiny, and rational debate, public trust, and policymaking within democratic societies are facing grave challenges. Consequently, people increasingly yearn for a democracy that returns to its original essence, a democracy founded upon truth, centered on rational discourse, and grounded in respect for diversity. The International Day of Democracy serves as a reminder to the world that democracy is the cornerstone of freedom of expression, the protection of human rights, and the rule of law, and that peoples across the globe must work together to safeguard these fundamental principles. The International Day of Love and Peace, initiated by FOWPAL, originated in 2005. It underscores that love is the starting point, peace is the process, and balanced wisdom is essential. At the same time, it calls upon leaders around the world to exercise their influence in jointly creating a world of freedom, equality, fraternity, and peace. Peace is not merely the absence of war, it must be built through understanding, respect, and love to ensure sustainable development. Yet true peace requires the awakening of conscience and the practice of hope. Through FOWPAL's advocacy and the collective efforts of peace-loving individuals worldwide, the United Nations, in 2019, proclaimed April 5th of each year as the International Day of Conscience, and in 2025 proclaimed July 12th of each year as the International Day of Hope. The global situation today presents both challenges and opportunities. Cooperation and dialogue grounded in love and peace are essential for addressing these issues, and the awakening of conscience and the fostering of hope represent the only viable path toward lasting peace. Many conflicts and divisions call for balanced wisdom, enabling tensions to be eased through love and peace. Such an approach can help humanity discover shared values, promote mutual understanding and inclusiveness, strengthen social cohesion, reduce confrontation, and foster unity and cooperation for the benefit of all. Democracy and the rule of law help to reduce social conflict by providing legal avenues for the resolution of disputes, ensuring mechanisms of oversight and checks and balances, and requiring governments to act with transparency, integrity, and accountability in the implementation of their policies. These principles contribute to reducing corruption, promoting fairness and justice, fostering social harmony and stability, safeguarding property rights, encouraging innovation, attracting investment, and advancing economic growth. To advance more inclusive democratic development and the promotion of peace, nations should place greater emphasis on the protection of human rights, strengthen public awareness of democracy through education, and encourage the younger generation to engage with global issues and become architects of future societies. Governments must enhance transparency and integrity in governance to earn the trust of their people and work together to create an environment of harmony and prosperity. Whether in international relations or social cohesion, the values of conscience and hope, together with transparency and integrity, should serve as guiding norms for achieving global sustainable peace. In the face of challenges, Only through the joint cooperation of global citizens and all sectors of society can a better future be created, by finding opportunities for change through reflection and drawing strength to move forward through hope. On this day, as we celebrate the 20th anniversary of FOWPAL's International Day of Love and Peace alongside the United Nations International Day of Democracy, we sincerely hope to convey your positive energy and invite your participation in promoting the International Day of Transparency and Integrity. Each and every individual can contribute their strength to the building of a peaceful and sustainable world. Thank you all.
Thank you, Dr. Hong. As Dr. Hong mentioned, the International Day of Love and Peace, initiated by FOWPAL, originated in 2005. It underscores that love is the starting point, peace is the process, and balanced wisdom is essential. The declaration of FOWPAL's International Love and Peace Day took place at the UN Plaza Hotel, New York, 2005, during the Love and Peace World Summit. The Declaration of International Love and Peace was presented. President Leonel Fernández of Dominican Republic was the first head of the state to endorse the declaration. After the endorsement ceremony with President Fernández, other heads of state, world leaders, and world citizens were invited to participate in signing the endorsement. Since then, Dr. Hong and FOWPAL continue to celebrate the day, as well as carry our aspirations into each trip and into our daily lives. Let us know, take a look at this clip that takes us back to 2005.
Through serendipity, President Fernández of the Dominican Republic and the Federation of World Peace and Love connected at the World Leaders Summit of Love and Peace in 2005, where he rang the bell of world peace and love and made a sincere wish for world peace. In March 2008, President Fernández diffused a potential war among Ecuador, Venezuela, and Colombia, saving millions from the scourge of war, fulfilling his wish for peace when ringing the bell. On April 6, 2008, FOWPAL's Vice President, Liu Meirong, on behalf of FOWPAL's President, Dr. Hong Daozi, honored President Fernández with the World Culture Peace Award for diffusing a potential war and bringing peace to the world. President Fernández has continued to promote love and peace in his country, at the United Nations, and around the world. On September 23, 2022, Dr. Hong and President Fernández met again during the UN General Assembly in New York. Dr. Hong presented to President Fernández the Lifetime Achievement Award for his promotion of world peace. Motivated by love and guided by conscience, FOWPAL and President Fernández will continue their joint efforts for a more just, peaceful, and sustainable world.
Love and peace. 3, 2, 1. Love and peace.
Motivated by love and guided by conscience, we can continue to strive for a more sustainable, just, and peaceful world. Since the launch of this day, FOWPAL has met many great leaders around the world who are also dedicated to fostering love and peace in every way they can. As we celebrate the 20th anniversary of FOWPAL International Love and Peace Day, we would like to share with you a few of the most inspirational speeches presented on the very topic of fostering the culture of peace with love and conscience, instilling hope for many around the world. Let's welcome these speeches.
Dr. Hong Daozi, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. We are here to celebrate the 6th International Day of Conscience. We have the right We have the duty and we have the pleasure to celebrate peace, love, and dignity. But we have also to face the complex situation of the world. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to tackle the situation, the complex situation where we are. At this very moment, you have hundreds of children killed in Gaza. At this very moment, you have an ethnic cleansing going on in this area of the world. In this very moment, you have civil population suffering in Ukraine, in East Congo, in many, many places in the world. Probably the worst is to come, because you know that Europe is rearming. People are talking about a war between China and the United States. They are talking very, very calmly. Even in my region, in North Africa, Morocco and Algeria are preparing for the worst. And they can go on listing all the places where there are conflicts underway or in the making. I will be frank with you, what has always fascinated me about the war is the fact that behind the horror of this war, of these wars, you have people just like you and me. People like you and me, it means that people who love their children, people who love music, poetry, people who can show generosity, compassion, love, but they are behind all these horrors. So the question is, what turns them into the beasts capable of all the horror of the war? For me, the answer is very simple. It's our human nature. Our human nature with its basic instincts, the most dangerous instincts of hatred and fear. When I say that they are just like you and me, it means that we also, in our deep consciences, we host hatred and fear. So how come that we fight for peace where the other people are fighting for war? What's the problem? And here, once again, the answer is our human nature. Fortunately, in our human nature, there are not only hatred and fear, there is also love, respect, friendship, etc., etc. And this is why we have to face the situation. That complex situation of our human nature means that we have to accept that in the future we will have bad news and good news. The bad news is, unfortunately, we have to accept that we have had wars for more than 100,000 years in the past. Probably we are going to have wars in the next 1,000 years to come. This is the bad news. But the good news is that the fact that there will be always people like us fighting for peace, love, and serenity. And this probably will be the balance, the equilibrium between our worst instinct and our best instinct. So it's our honor here to bear what I would call the angel in us. And it's our duty that this angel inside us would always prevail on the devil that we always host. This is our duty. This is what we're doing. This is what should, continue to try to do without illusion, but always without determination. Thank you.
Dr. Hong Tao-Tse, distinguished personalities and guests, volunteers of FOWPAL, ladies and gentlemen. I am here coming all the way from Latin America, from my country, Ecuador, and we appreciate a lot the invitation to be part of the celebration, the 6th anniversary of the Day of Conscience, and also to celebrate the Declaration of United Nations about the Day of Hope. I think that now more than ever, we need to talk about love, about peace, about conscience, about all the good desires that we want for the world. When I was reading speaking and the talking about the listen, the inner voice, I was so astonished. Why? Because the inner voice usually is a good voice, a good of fraternity, a voice of talking about common things between human beings. Then we all have our good inner voice, and we have to put it in common to talk more about these issues, not about wars, not about competitions, not about things that are destroying our planet. We are living a lot of big challenges nowadays, challenges like climate change. Here in this forum, in this House of United Nations, we need to talk a lot more about climate change, of how we can deal with this big challenge, and of course the winds of war that are happening in different parts of the world. Then the initiative of FOWPAL, this Federation of World Love and Peace, is very important, and we have to think about it, how we can, in any case, from our personal situation with our global intuition, how we can work for this. If not, it's not going to be sustainable. Many writers and thinkers are talking about the collapse of this civilization. I remember the great geographer of United States, Jared Diamond, that have this book, this terrible book about collapse. And he is viewing with antecedent what is happening with the climate change, but also with the bad situations between people. And of course, we are scared about that, and we are thinking about the new generations. I had been an educator most of my life, and I continue working with teachers to make them better teachers and to improve quality of education in my own country and in Latin America and in the world. And I think the good way, the good approach to get the goals of hope, of tolerance, of conscience is through education. We have to educate new generation, but also look and search in ourselves the inner voice. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, dear Dr. Hong, I want to express respect and gratitude for marking International Day of Conscience. I appreciate the Kingdom of Bahrain for proposing this day as International Day. During the COVID-19 pandemic, the Kingdom estimated that conscience is a precondition for peace, tolerance, inclusion, understanding, and solidarity. Thank you for the decision of your Kingdom. The COVID-19 pandemic has shown the full value of conscience and the need for solidarity. The problems of unequal treatment of rich and poor countries in vaccine distribution had to be overcome only through a joint mechanism of the World Health Organization, a mechanism that has shown the value and necessity of global sharing. The international community should be grateful to United Nations General Assembly for adopting the resolution declaring June 23, 2019 as International Day of Conscience. Respect and gratitude to UNESCO and United Nations Alliance of Civilization for affirming and promoting global values of conscience. I respect the Federation of World Peace and Love and Honorable Dr. Hong Tao-Tse, who dedicated his life to extending the most important global values. Dr. Hong, you are absolutely right. Conscience is the driving force for love and peace. With conscience comes a peaceful world. It's true. I wish the Federation of World Peace and Love to continue its mission of affirming multilateralism values through the symbolism, very interesting and important symbolism of the bell of peace and love, which should be heard by everyone and everywhere. Thank you for your attention.
I feel very strongly about the need for us to embrace comprehensively the 17 Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations. So strong have I felt about it that I can recall when I was president. I recall that I had been invited to address the Parliament of Trinidad and Tobago, as is customarily done during the ceremonial opening of the Parliament. And I felt it was a golden opportunity to both inform and instruct, and to advise, more importantly, given the fact that even though I am president of the country of Trinidad and Tobago at the time, you know, the person who is responsible for the general affairs of the country is the Prime Minister. And I recall telling the Assembly that comprised of both parliamentary elected officials and of course elections, other officials, the opposition. I recall indicating to them that I felt so strongly about the 17 Sustainable Development Goals that I felt what they ought to do was to throw away their political manifestos that each party has and to adopt wholesale the 17 Sustainable Development Goals as a roadmap for true and real national development, because it dealt with every facet of the existence of the average citizen, whether it be moving from poverty, whether we're talking about health, whether we're talking about women empowerment, whether we're talking about children's well-being, climate action, whether we're talking about all the issues of social vulnerability, you know, environmental vulnerability, all those things are captured by the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. Of course, they were quite aghast. Some of them at the time didn't know, in my view, based on the expression, what I was talking about. But people are going to accept that the 17 Sustainable Development Goals are laudable goals, that they are achievable. But what is required is political will. What is required is having the type of corporate, private and public consensus and collaboration to address the issues in every society with a view to solving those problems and challenges that the average citizen is facing. The problem, though, with the 17 development goals, though, is that politicians need, in my humble view, to know themselves. They need to invoke the voice of conscience. And most of all, they need to appreciate that as a politician, you are the servant of the people, and the people are not your servants. So, I think, all in all, the 17 Sustainable Development Goals are goals that we need to embrace holistically and realistically and emphatically. Perhaps, of course, at this point in time, the most important of them all is climate change. And that goal of climate action, goal number 30, the Sustainable Development Goal number 13, coupled with 14 life underwater, life on land, goal 15, I think when you recognize what is taking place environmentally, it is impacting on every facet of human life. You know, when you look at, for example, the United Nations not too long ago had a survey done through WHO linking the increased heart attacks to, in fact, the egregious vulnerabilities that come with climate change. You know, so in terms of yields, in terms of food production, a lot of countries are unable to have the kind of food integrity and security that they ought to have because there is no water. The ravages of the radical movement of the climate, where dry season is becoming rainy season and rainy season is becoming dry. You know, where infrastructures in cities are are literally washed away by raging floods that never occurred before. You know, so I always tell people, what is the use of driving a Mercedes-Benz? What is the use of driving a Toyota if you're going to be driving it in the years to come in 12 inches of salt water? Because again, we are talking about the rise of the sea level rise, where there's massive erosion of land space. And therefore, in fact, invariably, people will begin to fight for borders and land. Look what's happening in the Pacific, where certain islands have disappeared, where the physical integrity of states are now in jeopardy. Are we going to say that the state in Maldives, 100 years from now, will be under the sea? No, we have to arrest that problem. And small island development states are the ones who are suffering the most. But no one is listening, in real terms. No one. Because when you consider in terms of even in terms of the economics, can we truly say that International Monetary Fund and the World Bank are addressing the issues in real terms of small island development states brought on by climate action? That is why, in fact, I have been a very strong advocate. I've been going all over the world in the past few years advocating an international environmental court, an IEC, that will deal exclusively with transnational misfeasance when it comes to our environment. Of course, I know, in fact, we have the Sea Tribunal, but I feel, for example, that there is need for a particular court to deal with transgressions that are intergenerational, intragenerational, and basically falling outside the sovereign territory of many countries. People must be held accountable for engaging in the massive carbon emissions that are taking place. That is why, in fact, you know, throughout my life, my official life, I have been trying to support and encourage groups that are in the fight for climate change. At the moment, for example, in Trinidad and Tobago, I am the patron of a group called CZIT, Carbon Zero Institute of Trinidad and Tobago, and we have been going to the schools to engage them on the urgency of climate action in terms of eradicating carbon emissions. Because at the end of the day, we are trying to tell them, save your world, because your older generation have not done a very good job. So this is why, in fact, you know, as I said, I'm a very strong advocate of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, and this is why also I feel an organization like FOWPAL that basically is pushing a philosophy of conscience, where in fact the voice of conscience that lies within all of us would be listened to. Because if leaders, in fact, for example, listen to their conscience, they will do what is right and condemn what is wrong. If people, for example, listen to their conscience, they will not be sycophants to their political parties and political ideas. They will be strong enough to say, I support my political party, but that is wrong. I support my political party because they're doing right. And it wouldn't be a case of contradictions where intelligent people are now looking at wrong and calling it right, and looking at right and calling it wrong. And to my mind, that represents a crisis in our personal and collective conscience. I recall, in fact, in an almost facetious way, I remember telling persons that when I see how educated professional persons are responding to wrong, are responding to crises and responding to problems in our society, I said, I think we have reached a stage where, in fact, we have intelligent, educated people now learning to be stupid. Yes, learning to be stupid. So it means, for example, that maybe our education system is one, for example, that needs addressing universally. Because we are producing a lot of spineless men and women. Not like before. Our universities that were in fact boiling points in the 60s and 70s and 80s of progressive ideas and philosophies have now gone dormant. What is taking place? You know, and at the end of the day, in fact, you know, it is requesting and demanding a holistic education system that creates better men and better women. Not greater men and greater women. Because when you educate, I always tell persons that, you know, education is not to make you a greater man and woman in the eyes of men and women. It's to make you a better person. So you can do great things. So you can do exceptional things.
In principle, as former politician, I always promoted peace and reconciliation, especially because I'm coming from the country that was involved in the war in the 90s. It's closely connected with human rights, with condition of living as well, and of course development of friendship. It's very important, mutual understanding, because if that is missing, there is no permanent peace. So I appreciate quite a lot that our organization is supporting this approach. I will concentrate on peace initiative. When I took the office of the president in the Republic of Croatia, we had very bad relations with neighbors, namely with Bosnia and Herzegovina and Republic of Serbia. And then, together with presidents from those countries, I took many initiatives to reconciliate, to give honor to victims of the wars, and also to put in contact people of same interest, musicians, human rights activists, people from culture as well. So it was very successful in that time, and I have to say that in that period, probably a little bit not so high level today, but we had really good, very good cooperation.
Well, the United Nations, as we all know, was established in 1945, which happens to be the year of my birth. Yes, and so that's a long time ago, and it was after the devastation of the Second World War. So they came together, and it was premised really on a peaceful world. And then they later, in 2015, and I was still in office then as Prime Minister, they came up with the Sustainable Development Goals, and there are 17 of them. And for me, they act as a kind of a framework or a template for countries, for nations, even regions and individuals to craft their national objectives, their regional objectives, even individual objectives. The ones that, I'll just take two examples that really speak to my heart. Yes, and the first one is actually goal number 1. It talks about a reduction, poverty reduction. As I understand what it means, but I don't quite like reduction. We shouldn't reduce poverty. We must eliminate poverty. Yes, because poverty is not only about, lack of access to to income, lack of access to opportunities. It really, poverty, it limits one's potential to develop and to contribute to growth within oneself, within the family, and the other people generally. So poverty is a very limiting phenomenon, and that denies the individual the God-given talents, to blossom. So I agree 100% that we must eliminate poverty, not reduce it. Yes, that's right. Yes, altogether. Okay. Yes, so that then everybody has access to opportunities and to a fulfilled, life, that they can use their God-given talents to improve life, not only for themselves, but for others as well. So that, for me, that's very important. And for me, maybe because of my background, I found that nothing, so far, in my experience, nothing improves or makes better one's life. There's nothing better than education. Yes, yes. Maybe it is because of what education did to me personally, because it really opened doors for me. So I see education as the best instrument to improve one's life. And when I was in government, my first appointment in government in 1993 was as Minister of Education and Training. And we devoted ourselves to opening doors for every boy, every girl in Lesotho. So we made, for instance, primary education free and compulsory. Yes. We wanted every child, every boy, every girl born in Lesotho to have access to education.
It's very important.
Before, there were school fees, that parents had to pay for the child to go to school. And many parents didn't have the wherewithal to pay school fees. So we abolished school fees because it was preventing, children from accessing education. Yes, yes. And so we abolished it, and that allowed all the children to go to school. Secondly, and that was very important in our policy, we made sure that we provided free school feeding.
School feeding?
Yes. Food. So that, because of poverty, some children from the village would go to school without having had breakfast or anything to eat in the morning. So we wanted to make sure that when they get to school, at least they can have one balanced, nutritious meal. Yes.
It's very important for
absolutely
the kids,
for the kids, for the health of the kids, because otherwise, because of poverty and poor nutrition, they don't grow, you know, yes,
Healthy,
yes,
right.
healthy, yes, they remain stunted, and so we therefore provided a school feeding scheme, and that brought many children to school because they knew that they would have at least a good meal at school.
Greetings and thank you. How wonderful to be here and to be reminded of the resonance of the bell for peace and love, and Dr. Hong's presence and the love in the room. So that grounds me. Since last I was with this group celebrating peace and love, I worked 3 years as the executive director of United Religions Initiative, which is the largest grassroots interfaith organization in the world with a presence in 110 countries. And they have big words as well, how to promote peace, justice, and healing for the earth and for all living beings. And sometimes there's a little Jerry inside me that's cynical and sad and saying, oh, these big words, love, justice, peace, they're so heavenly. How can we really download them? How do we grasp them? How do we make them real? And so that negative Jerry, the less optimistic Jerry, is always trying to shoot it down. And so with the recent events of the last couple of years in terms of leadership, cynicism, I was teaching at a university and giving a lecture, and I asked a Nobel laureate professor, he was nominated to be Nobel, I said, how are the kids doing? I haven't been teaching at a university for a few years in this new job. So before I speak to your kids, how are they? And he said, well, they're scared, they're depressed, they're lost. And I thought he would maybe say something optimistic or positive, hopeful. He's one of the more hopeful people I know, compassionate. He said maybe it helps that many of them are medicated. And again, he wasn't being glib, trying to be flippant. He was stating a fact, that the rising generation was losing hope. They were opting out, that they didn't see themselves cast in this play on Earth. So what do we do with rising suicide, rising addiction, rising depression, rising chemicals, rising cynicism and nihilism? So I decided I would start to think about that. And I had to ask myself, young Jerry, are you getting cynical? Are you losing hope? So I thought, well, what is the vision here? It's to flourish. We all want to flourish, right? Sounds pretty good? Sounds organic? Peace, justice. We want that in our bones. And it's very simple, as my colleagues have said too. Like, it's just hope for a better day. But again, hope for a better day. How do we hope? And I think the analogy that came to me that even as I was listening to my colleagues here was that love is our source. It's the source energy, the creative source energy. So we need love, and we need to be sourced in love to do the work. And next comes, this desire from FOWPAL for peace. Again, I share in the Nobel Peace Prize. I love the word peace, shalom, salam, fullness, roundness, circles, wholeness. I love the balance. But how do we get from love to peace? And it struck me that if love is the source and peace is our destination and our desired dream, then hope is the river that gets us there. Without hope, we cannot carry and flow. So that's what we're trying to connect. So what is hope? So I dug back to myself and thought, I'm going to call an old nun I know, because I was raised as a Catholic outside Boston. And I said, Sister Macrina, a Benedictine nun in an abbey, and what is hope to you? I might forget I'm trying to remember. There's this new International Day of Hope. I think it might be one of the most important days of the year, and every day. So remind me. And she says, oh, hope. The little sister, the kid sister of love and faith, often forgotten. I thought that was so interesting. In the Christian scriptures, it says faith, hope, and love. These three things will endure. So you can't destroy hope. You can't destroy love. You can't destroy faith. That's the good news. And then goes on to say love, the big sister, is the greatest, the best. We all know, like, love is wonderful, and then faith. But what about hope? What about Cinderella? I can picture the three sisters getting together, and there's hope facing all this depression, all this sadness and lostness, and saying, sisters, love, sisters, peace, faith, where are you? I need some help down here to resurrect hope. I'm mopping the floors, I'm cleaning the attic, I'm on my knees, and no one really wants to talk to me. I sing and talk to the birds and the bees in nature, but hope is sort of kept out, locked away, because it's not scientific, or it's not it's not for the diplomats. It's not a policy. Hope is not a strategy. But without hope, we are sunk. So I picture young hope saying to the sisters, help me, love. It's so easy for you. You're love. You're being. You're the best. You're our source. Lead on. But that's easy. I wish I were just love. And then she turns to Faith, her other sister, and says, Faith, oh, isn't it nice to be optimistic and certain of everything and believe that it all works out in the end, that we just get there against the evidence showing us that. I just have to believe. So Faith, how nice to be Faith, sister. You're beautiful, and you seem conflict averse, and you just don't doubt. You don't have the anxiety that I have, says little sister Hope. And Hope says, I have ambition. And I think that's what we miss in the big words. Little sister, kid sister Hope has ambition. Because what is hope? It's believing that we want to get to a better day. It's wanting something. Hope is born of desire. I want this, and I don't want that. It's our preferences. I prefer to live in peace and not war. I prefer to flourish and not dry up and die. I prefer to live, not be burnt alive. How does hope transport us on a river to get to our destination of peace? So I feel that my favorite sister now, because of this day, has reawakened to me. And like, my favorite is Little Hope. So what are we doing? When I started to write this book on vibrating energy and hope to these young folk, the rising generation, I have 4 kids. They are between 28 and 34. They are millennials. Not one of them wants a kid. So what are our existential threats? There's nuclear, there's climate catastrophe, all dying by fire, and then there's youth annihilation in the next generation. How can we make sure that they don't lose hope and opt out? How do we put them back in the river to swim, even as it meanders with all of its rapids? So just a couple other points here. I have to think back again when Jerry was little and I was 20, and I had so much hope when I went to Jerusalem and I took my junior year to study and walk in the footsteps of the prophets in the Holy Land. And as many of you know, that began my introduction to the landmine. I didn't know what a landmine was until on a sunny spring day filled with hope and sunshine, I stepped on a landmine. Boom! There was nothing in any of my education that told me what to do. All I saw was what landmines do. They rip off body parts, just enough to maim you. Not to kill you, to torture you so other people have to go and be terrorized to try to help you, and then they get blown up. So that was the beginning. What do you do? How do you find your hope in a minefield when you're trapped and all around you hidden underneath are these little weapons of terror who won't show themselves? So I had to believe, I had to summon Sister Love. I love life, I want to live. I had to summon Sister Faith. A message came to me that there's a purpose. You don't die this way, Jerry. Faith. And then hope that somehow we could translate that situation of 100 million landmines buried in over 80 countries, blowing up innocent civilians around the world. Military litter and irresponsibility by governments and their militaries around the world. So hope helped translate danger into action. And everyone says at first, you cannot ban landmines. Just like if they said in that minefield, you do not get out alive. Despair doesn't help us on this path. So we went all around the world and said, do you want to ban landmines? No, says the United States. What about you, NATO? No. Russia, China? No, no, no. Our work of hope begins at no. Because now there's a landmine treaty. We share in the Nobel Peace Prize. Most of the world has signed on, like poison gas, saying landmines are illegal, indiscriminate, and must be banned around the world. And so we have saved tens of millions of lives and limbs around the world because of the hope that translated into action, that didn't take no for an answer. And I could go on with many other stories. The same thing on the UN Convention on the Rights of People with Disabilities. Thank you. So I want to just encourage all of us. Dr. Hong, you send this light to ignite, and all of you do. And I'm thinking this rising generation needs to do somehow to learn and be trained and educated how to be in action. The number one medicine to getting out of overwhelm, anxiety, and depression is to be in action. This is not a time for passivity. This is a time for hope as a strategy for a flourishing world. So with that, I'll end and say cheers to hope in this very special day that you've put out into the universe. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let me take you on a journey to a place where lovers flee. Many paths lead through the wilderness. Wild beasts won't keep you from me. There's a spring that's overflowing, where the wise men gather round. Let us bathe here in their silence. A peaceful heart knows love without bounds. Become our children, most of them future. If we can find our to what a creation, what a reason. If we can find the path to peace. Let me take you on a journey to a place where lovers flee. We are united by faith. We are one voice. We are one voice. We are one voice.
Our journeys around the world have allowed us to connect with like-minded friends around the world who are also striving to bring peace into their communities. It is important that we continue to do so to maintain the beauty of our earth, of humanity, and inspire more people to abide by our conscience, to respect and learn from nature to ensure the sustainable development of our world. FOWPAL is proud to partner up with leaders of various circles in this effort and appreciate the friends and scenery along our journeys. Our most recent trip took us to Brunei. Here is a clip that takes us on this trip where we visited the 120th country in our journey planting seeds of love and peace. Please enjoy.
In August 2025, Dr. Hong, president of the Federation of World Peace and Love, led 40 volunteers to Brunei, known in Malay as Negara Brunei Darussalam, or Abode of Peace. Brunei, the third largest oil producer in Southeast Asia and fourth largest natural gas producer worldwide, is among the world's wealthiest nations. In the Islamic world, it is known for respect, inclusiveness, and social harmony. With this visit, Brunei became the 120th country where FOWPAL promoted love and peace.
There's a force that unites us, reaching for the sky. A world filled with chaos where conflicts arise. It's the power of peace and love, so strong and true, guiding us forward in all that we pursue. Oh, the power of peace and love, a shining light, breaking down barriers with all our hearts. Hand in hand, we'll rise above, embracing the power of peace and love.
In Brunei, Dr. Hong and the volunteers visited major ministries, including development, education, religious affairs, culture, youth and sports, and transport and info communications. They presented symbolic gifts such as the compass clock of conscience, representing conscience, love, and peace. In their meetings, they highlighted the importance of conscience and their commitment to continue promoting global peace amid today's turbulent world. At Brunei's scenic spots, FOWPAL volunteers performed songs and cultural presentations to bring people together and convey heartfelt blessings of love and peace. They also promoted Declaration of International Day of Conscience, the Declaration of International Day of Hope, and the Declaration for Transparency and Integrity, receiving over 590 endorsements in just 4 days. Dr. Hong promotes holistic education based on love, peace, conscience, and hope, aiming to bring physical, mental, and spiritual well-being to people of all ages and backgrounds.
Loving peace is super extremely important. We need the world must be in peace. Without peace, we cannot stay longer.
The song is very beautiful. So love and peace message, keep in mind. Yes, very impressive.
In Brunei, a nation whose name signifies peace, FOWPAL came with a mission of love, which is a world of one heart, peace, and sustainability. We aspire for the promise of love and peace, to transcend borders, to nurture love with love, to awaken conscience with conscience, so that peace may be everlasting. May all people enjoy safety, health, and happiness. May all living beings coexist in peace, building a harmonious and beautiful world together.
As the song in the video share, that the power of peace and love is a shining light, breaking down barriers with all our hearts. Hand in hand, we'll rise above, expanding the power of peace and love. Let us continue to strive for a better world. Thank you for joining us to celebrate the International Day of Democracy, as well as the 20th anniversary of FOWPAL's International Love and Peace Day. Our next event will be September 21st to celebrate the United Nations International Day of Peace. Be sure to join us then. Thank you. We'll see you next time.